Conclusion. Subhuti respectfully inquired of the Lord Buddha, Honored of the worlds, in future days, if a disciple hears this teaching or a part of it, a section or a sentence, will it awaken true faith in his mind? Subhuti, do not doubt it. Even at the remote period of 500 years after the nirvana of the Tathagata, there will be those who, practicing charity and keeping the precepts, will believe in sections and sentences of this scripture and will awaken in their minds a true, pure faith. You should know, however, that such disciples long ago have planted roots of goodness, not simply before one Buddha shrine, or 2, or 5, but before the shrines of 100,000 myriad samyakas of Buddhas, so that when they hear sentences and sections of this scripture, there will instantly awaken within their minds a pure, true faith. Subhuti, the Tathagata knows that the sentient beings who awaken faith after hearing sentences and sections of this scripture will accumulate blessing and merit that are inestimable. How do I know this? Because these sentient beings must have already discarded such arbitrary conceptions of phenomena as one's own self, other selves, living beings, and a universal self. If they had not, their minds would inevitably grasp after such things, and then they would not be able to practice charity nor keep the precepts. Moreover, these sentient beings must have also discarded all arbitrary ideas relating to the conceptions of a personal self, other personalities, living beings, and a universal self, because if they had not, their minds would inevitably grasp after such relative ideas. Further, these sentient beings must have already discarded all arbitrary ideas relating to the conception of the non-existence of a personal self, other personalities, living beings, and a universal self. If they had not, their minds would still be grasping after such ideas. Therefore, every disciple who is seeking Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi should discard not only conceptions of one's own selfhood, other selves, living beings, and a universal self, but should discard also all ideas about such conceptions and all ideas about the non-existence of such conceptions. While the Tathagata, in his teaching, constantly makes use of conceptions and ideas about them, disciples should keep in mind the unreality of all such conceptions and ideas. They should recall that the Tathagata, in making use of them and explaining the Dharma, always uses them in the resemblance of a raft that is of use only to cross a river. As the raft is of no further use after the river is crossed, it should be discarded. So, these arbitrary conceptions of things and about things should be wholly given up as one attains enlightenment. How much more should be given up conceptions of non-existent things, and everything is non-existent. As Subhuti listened intently to the words of the Lord Buddha, the teaching of the scripture penetrated into the depths of his understanding, and he fully realized that it was the true path to enlightenment. The tears came to his eyes as he realized this, and he said, "Oh, blessed Lord, I have never before realized this profound scripture. Thou hast opened my eyes to its transcendental wisdom. Honored of the worlds, what has been taught us concerning the true significance of phenomena carries no arbitrary or limited meaning. The teaching is, as you say, a raft that will carry us to the other shore. Noble Lord, when, as present, I have the chance of hearing the scripture, it is not difficult for me to concentrate my mind upon it and to clearly understand its significance, and it awakens within my mind a pure faith. In future time, after 5 centuries, if there be any ready to hear it and ready to attain enlightenment, able to concentrate their minds upon it, able to realize a clear understanding of it, able to awaken a pure faith in it, such a disciple will hereby become a wonderful and preeminent disciple. And if there is such a disciple, the reason he will be able to awaken a pure faith will be because he has ceased to cherish any arbitrary conceptions as to his own selfness, the selfhood of others, of living beings, of a universal self. Why is this so? It is because If he is cherishing any arbitrary conception as to his own selfhood, he will be cherishing something that is non-existent. It is the same as to all arbitrary conceptions of other personalities, living beings, and a universal self. They are all expressions of things that are non-existent. If a disciple is able to discard all arbitrary conceptions of phenomena or about phenomena, he will immediately become a Buddha. The Lord Buddha was much pleased with this reply, saying, "True indeed. If a disciple, having heard this scripture, is not surprised or frightened, you should know that he or she is worthy to be regarded as a truly wonderful disciple." Subhuti said to the Blessed One, "By what name shall this scripture be known, so that it will be understood and honored and studied?" The Lord Buddha replied, "This scripture shall be known as the Vajrachedika Prajnaparamita. By this name it shall be reverenced, studied, and observed." What is meant by this name? It means that when the Lord Buddha named it Prajnaparamita, he did not have in mind any definite or arbitrary conception, and so he thus named it. It is the scripture that is hard and sharp like a diamond, that will cut away all arbitrary conceptions and bring one to the other shore of enlightenment. What think you, Subhuti? Has the Tathagata given you any definite teaching in this scripture? No, blessed Lord, the Tathagata has not given us any definite teaching in this scripture. When the Lord Buddha had finished the teaching recorded in this scripture, the Venerable Subhuti, together with all the assembled bhikshus and bhikshuni and disciples, both men and women, and all the devas and angels, greatly rejoiced, and thereafter, sincerely believing the teaching, heartily accepted it, faithfully observed it, and zealously practiced it.